How do you stop coming into agreement with fear? Now, this is happening more often than parents realize, and it directly affects how you feel, how you respond, and how steady you're able to stay. And that is coming to agreement with fear. You're not just there thinking, I'm choosing fear, right? It's more subtle than that. And it sounds like thoughts. What if this gets worse? What if nothing changes? What did I miss as a parent? What if they go further down that path? And those thoughts are real and they are important and they feel like something you should pay attention to. But here's the part I want you to really understand. Just because a thought shows up does not mean you have to agree with it. An agreement is where the shift happens. Once you agree with the thought, it doesn't just stay a thought. It starts shaping how you feel, it shapes how you respond, and over time, it starts shaping how you show up in your relationship with your child. So let me ground this in scripture. Amos, third chapter and third verse says, do two walk together unless they have agreed to do so? Agreement connects you to something. And that applies here too. When you agree with fear, you start walking in that direction, not because you want to, but because you didn't recognize it. So let's connect this to spiritual warfare because this is where it often shows up. It's not always in something dramatic, but in something subtle. A thought that sounds reasonable or feel justified, a feeling that seems accurate, but underneath it is really fear. And if that fear goes unchecked, it starts to influence you. It says in scripture, 2 Corinthians 10 and 5, we are to take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. That's not about controlling every thought. It's about recognizing this thought doesn't align with truth and choosing not to agree with it. Because here's what happens if you don't. The thought will come in, this is getting worse, and then you agree with it. Now you feel anxious, and now you react from that place. Maybe you push harder. Maybe you say something quickly. Maybe you try to fix or control it. And afterwards, you don't feel at peace because fear will always pull you out of a steady place. So let's look at the same situation differently. The thought comes in, this is getting worse. But instead of agreeing with it, you pause and you recognize that's fear talking and you shift that thought. Okay, God, you see what I cannot see. Lord, you are still working in this, or I don't have to come into agreement with that fear. See, it's the same moment, but different agreement, different outcome internally. And this is where your authority as a parent shows up, not in stopping thoughts from coming, but in choosing what you align with, what you agree with, right? Let's go a little deeper. Sometimes agreement doesn't look like fear, it looks like responsibility. I need to fix this. Or if I don't do something, who will? And again, that feels right at first, but underneath it is pressure. And that pressure will pull you right back into carrying. And we talked about that. That's not your position. Your position is to stand, to pray, to stay aligned, not to carry the outcome. Scripture says in Romans 12 and 2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is how your mind gets renewed, not by forcing different thoughts, but by not agreeing with the ones that don't align with truth either. And this takes practice because those thoughts can come quickly and they sound familiar, and sometimes they've been there for a long time. But the moment you start catching them, you can start breaking that pattern. You don't spiral as long. You don't react as quickly, and you don't feel pulled in the same way. And that is where your peace begins to stabilize. So if you've been feeling like I keep going back to the same thoughts, start here. Not by trying to think perfectly, but by noticing what am I agreeing with right now? Because that matters. So in the next video, we're going to take this another step further. I want to help you understand how to stay steady when nothing is visibly changing, because that is where many parents struggle the most. How do you stay grounded when you're not seeing results yet? We're going to walk through that next. But for now, just start here. Pay attention to your thoughts. Not every thought deserves agreement. And you don't have to walk in that direction that fear is trying to pull you. You can come back to truth. And that is where your strength builds.